Hello and welcome to the Torus release demo for version 32, which was just released on December 9th, 2025. This will be presented by Amanda Buddymeyer, our technical product manager, as well as myself, Laura Delince, our product analyst. A quick overview of the contents of this video. After a brief introduction, we will see the admin UX improvements. Then we will explore the instructor analytics features. And then we will dive into other notable improvements. First, we will discuss the admin UX improvements. This release introduces a set of targeted admin user experience enhancements designed to make browsing, searching, and managing faster and more intuitive for admins when they are working with projects, products, and course sections. This is done by providing more informative tables, an improved searching and filtering experience, as well as data export support. To demonstrate this, I will switch over to my admin account. Here you can see the admin panel on my account. From here, I will go to the Browse All Projects option. From the get-go, you can observe that admins now see additional, frequently used information directly in table views, reducing the need to click into individual records. This table view is available in the Browse All Projects, Browse All Products, as well as the Browse All Course section screens. The first improvement that I will show you is the dedicated tag field and column. This improves categorization and scannability when working with large data sets. Managing tags is fairly simple. To create a new tag, I can click on the tag field and start typing. I'm going to call this the best tag. After I am done with the name of my new tag, I can just hit enter and my tag will be created and added to that project. To select an already existing tag, I can click on the tag field and start typing. The system will filter the available tags to those that match what I just typed. From here, I can just click on it and it will be added to my project. To delete a tag from a project, I can just click on the X next to the tag that I want to delete. From here, I can also demonstrate the improved search and filtering. Here you can see that we have a filter and clear all filters button. From the filter menu, I have a variety of filter criteria, including creation date and date range, tags, and here I can use the tags that I was demonstrating before, visibility, depending on whether it's open, restricted, or author only, whether a project is published or not, whether it's active or deleted, and I can also filter by institution from a pre-populated list. And if I wish to search this list, I can also do so if I start typing. Once I am set on my filter criteria, I can just click on apply and I should be able to see filter results. Let's search for the projects that have the brand new tag and click on apply. Here you can see my filtered results. New filter controls allow admins to quickly narrow tables based on relevant attributes, making it easier to locate specific projects, products, or sections. The next improvement I will show you is the data export support. Admins now can download table data as CSV files, enabling easier reporting, auditing, and offline analysis. To download table data, an admin just needs to click on this download CSV link. The data that will be downloaded is that which is already available on my screen. Because I have a filter result, that means that if I download this CSV file right now, only this project will show up. At the moment, the download CSV option is only available in the Browse Project screen. However, it will soon be available in the Browse Products screen, as well as the Browse All Course section screen. Together, these improvements significantly reduce the cognitive load of managing content at scale and make routine admin tasks faster and more reliable. Now, let's dive into the instructor analytics improvements. This release delivers a major set of improvements to instructor analytics, making insights easier to access, easier to interpret, and easier to act on. This is done by providing learning objective data visualization, support for emailing students straight from the interface, as well as other much-needed optimizations. To show these improvements, I will now switch to my instructor interface. Here I have a demo course. I am currently located in the Insights screen on the Learning Objectives tab. And from here, I can see that Learning Objectives view now will help instructors surface low proficiency sub-objectives, making it easier to pinpoint where students are struggling. From this screen, I have two very helpful preset filters to show low proficiency learning objectives and low proficiency sub-learning objectives. If I click on this, I can easily see the sub-learning objectives where students are struggling with the most. I can expand the learning objective or sub-learning objective to learn more, and I can click on a segment of the distribution to see which students are part of that segment. I can also click on the related activities for that learning objective to learn more about the activities and the performance in these activities. Now, going back to the learning objectives view and expanding on the distribution segment I'm interested in, now I can see the specific students that are struggling the most with this sub-learning objective. Another improvement that is part of this release is that communication is now built into Insights. Instructors can now select and email specific students or groups of students directly from the analytics views based on proficiency categories and module context. Here, if I want to reach out to students who are struggling, I can select one or more and click on the email button. Here I'll have two options. I can either copy their email addresses and use them in my email server of choice, or I can click on send email, and I'll be provided with a tool where I can type a new email message from scratch, or I can copy paste a suggested template that I can edit later. Once I am done editing my template, I can then click on the send email button, and it will be done. In the scored pages and practice pages, instructors now have access to expanded distribution visualizations, which make learning proficiency patterns easier to interpret at a glance. Let's take a look. I'll go into this scored page, for example, and I'll see a list of the activities listed on that page. From here, I can already see that the one with the lowest percentage of correctness is the second one. And I can expand on this to see the answer distribution on the first attempt and see that the first attempt percentage is very low at 20%, but eventually correct, it grows a little bit. Other optimizations included in this release aim for clearer language and semantics. Naming conventions across insights, scored pages, practice pages, and learning objectives have been updated for clarity and consistency. Tooltips now provide clearer explanations, helping instructors interpret metrics and distributions with more confidence. And the table interface has been refined across multiple pages. These updates improve readability, scanning, and interaction consistency across analytics workflows. Altogether, these improvements turn instructor analytics into a more actionable workspace, helping instructors move from insight to intervention with less friction.
Folks, Amanda Buddymeyer here. I'm going to take over the release demo from this point from Laura, and we're going to talk about some other notable improvements in Torus version 32. So before I get into any of these specifics, I want to be clear that there's no way that our release demo could cover everything that we built. There are nearly 200 improvements included in Torus version 32. I think about 70 of those are bug fixes, and we just can't go over everything. So I do want to point your attention in the description of this video, also on the Torus website, and I'm going to show you in a minute, we have the release notes. The release notes are a list of absolutely everything. I'm going to come here. These are the release notes for Torus version 32. Actually, these are the release notes for 32.1. These are the release notes for Torus version 32. You'll see there's some basic information about the release. There is a list of every single ticket in the release. It's categorized by the interface and by, we have some big categories of types of things that we've built. You can actually, for many of these, click a link to see on the Torus triage board more information about this. And then when you get down to the bottom, you'll actually find, click read more here, you'll actually find a table that has known issues. So if you want, if you think you have detected, maybe a bug, then we will tell you what bugs we think have been introduced by this release, and some of these you'll see 32.1 hotfix. That's actually already in production as of when we're making this this demo video, so these ones already are fixed, but some of these other ones are not. But yeah, almost 200 tickets, and you can kind of see a description of each one of them. So if you have something you're wondering about, maybe something that's been bothering you, of course you can always ask me or ask Laura or any other member of the team, and we can talk to you if there's a particular issue that you wanted to check on. But also you can look through here and see what types of things were addressed in this release. Okay, with that out of the way, I have picked a couple of things that I think are particularly notable to different members of our community, and I'm going to demo those things. A lot of these are bug fixes, which means they're not always the most exciting to demo. It's going to be a lot of me showing you something and saying, hey, this used to not work, and now it does. But there are some new features as well that I can show you. All right, starting off in the authoring interface, and I do want to point out I have a little notation down here. Of course, you can see in the workspace on the left side of the screen what interface I'm in here. I'm in the course author, but also just to kind of make it extra clear, I do have these little flags in the lower left-hand side of the screen to show you where we are. So the first bug, I have to tell you that I'm logged in right now as an account admin. We have 3 levels of admin for Torus, and there was a problem with the account admins where they couldn't get to all of the projects. I'm not going to scroll here because I think I'm already going to have to redact some of the information on this screen when I release the demo video. But that problem has now been fixed. If you are an account admin, then you can access all of the projects. And actually, because of that issue, there were a bunch of people who really only needed account admin access who got to be system admins, which, to me is kind of scary to have more admin powers than you really need. Those people were going to start pulling back into being account admins. So if you're in that scenario, you will get likely an email from me just letting you know, and that we're probably going to roll you back to being an account admin now that this is fixed. But this is the first issue that I wanted to demo. The next thing I want to talk about, I have a couple of things for folks who are using certificates. So let me go to my trusty unicorn project, and I have a product in here that I just made called Unicorn Certificate Product. We do have certificates turned on for this, so I can come in here. And the first issue that could be affecting you if you use certificates is in this design tab. There was a kind of annoying bug where if you made changes here, and here we have things that have to do with the actual design of what the certificate looks like. And if I click Save Design, I actually get to see kind of a sample of that certificate. And what was happening is if you made changes here and saved it, then unless you reloaded the page or left and came back, you weren't immediately seeing that that your changes had saved. So it could be confusing. You might think that you were saving it and it wasn't saving when in fact it was. So that should be fixed now. Now when you're making changes here, this is a sample description, and I'm going to hit save. This is a sample description, and when I come back here, I can see that. So it is confirming that change has happened. The other certificate improvement is actually in the instructor interface. So I'm going to pop over, and you'll see I'm in my instructor interface here. And it actually has to do with, I'm in my overview tab, and I came into students, and you can see here there's a column that says certificate status. And more important, when you download, well, I mean, not more important, but this had already been there, but if you download the CSV version of this report, if you export the report, that certificate status is going to be there. So if you have a course with certificates and you really want to be able to look at that in a spreadsheet or import it someplace else, then you'll be able to do that. Okay, those are our certificate fixes for version 32. The next couple of things actually aren't bug fixes. They're some new features we built out around time zones. And if you have been the instructor of an online course or a course that uses courseware, you know that time zones are really important when we're talking about due dates. So if you imagine that you have a course where maybe the instructor is in the Eastern time zone of the United States, and you have students who are all over the place, maybe in other parts of the US or other parts of the world, then it's really important that when those students are looking at when their due dates are, that they understand what that means, that they're not seeing something in a time zone that they don't understand. And we were having some confusion around that, so we did a couple of quick fixes. One, I'm actually just going to show you a screenshot here from the screen that you'll see when you are making a new course as an instructor. And we do have a course time zone here, and it is going to default to the US Eastern time zone, but as the instructor, you can set any time zone that you want. So because that is the course time zone, I'm going to talk in a minute about what that means, because we still can have different users who have different time zones. But this is something you can set kind of as a backup in case sometimes it's difficult for the system to know what a user's time zone is. So if I actually go now into the instructor interface, now for all users of Torus, if you go up here for their profile and information, there is a time zone here, and by you can set this. Any user, whether it's an author or an instructor or a student, can set what their time zone is. But this is something that when an account is first created, then the system will try to detect it from the device, the browser that the user is using. And so this can lead to some confusion. Either, I mean, there are some browsers that don't provide that information, but also let's imagine that you were traveling and it was set and it's something that, maybe you're not sure what the time zone is. So we were seeing confusion in the student interface where students would see a due date and it wasn't in a time zone that they expected. They expected it to be their local time zone. So in order to try to provide clarity for that, so first of all, in cases where a student is using a browser that's not giving time zone information, or we can't automatically get that and the student hasn't set it, it's going to default to that course time zone. And we do have a lot of cases where students and instructors are in the same time zone, or at least maybe most of them are. So that is a good backup in case a student is using a browser that's not providing time zone information. But also something that we did as just a quick fix here is we're more clear on these different tabs about what time zone this student is in. So if I click on my Learn page, I can see up here the time zone is America, New York. That is going to be clear, the same whether I'm right now in the gallery view. If I switch to the outline view, it's still there. Same on the course schedule. We have at the top of the screen what is the time zone, and also on the assignments page. So there's really two types of time zone relief that students are getting here. One, then if the browser isn't telling us what their time zone is, we're going to default to that course time zone. So that's more likely to be a time zone that is close to what the student is expecting. And second of all, we are displaying on the screen what the time zone is. I do think this is something that we can improve over time. This was kind of a quick fix that we slipped into the release here because we were having some confusion. And I do want to be clear that in most cases we are, this does work smoothly. We have a browser that's accurately telling the system what the student's time zone is, and in most cases we are seeing that the time zone that we have for a student is what the student expects. But in those edge cases, this is a way for them to have a little bit more clarity on how to contextualize the time. Okay, next, and actually let me back up to this slide. We have a fix that is going to be helpful to instructors who do a lot of remixing of course content, particularly if you remix a lot of course content. Again, I'm in the instructor interface here. I'm going to go to the Manage tab, and I'm going to come down to Customize Content. And then I'm going to go to Add Materials, and I'm just going to try to search for a course here. Now, if you had, I'm just going to give this a minute to load. This is a big course. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of units here, and I can click into any, and I can see the different modules that go in that unit. Oops, I went back too far. And this probably wasn't an issue that you noticed if you only are grabbing like one unit maybe, and you're doing a little bit of remixing. But let's say I wanted to put a whole bunch of this in, and I'm checking off multiple things here. Something we were seeing is that these were actually coming in reverse order, which of course is not what you would want. If you're adding these units, you want them to go, sequentially. So, you could remix it in, but you would kind of have to either add them all and then sort them once they were added and get them in the right order, or maybe just add them one at a time. And both of those are kind of frustrating. And we were also seeing some weird numbering here where the, here you see everything is numbered nicely. And again, if I click in, then I'm seeing nicely numbered modules, but the numbering was looking a little bit wrong for some of these modules. So for those of you who do use the remix feature, I think that, this isn't allowing you to do anything that you couldn't do before. You could do it before, but I think that it can save a lot of frustration, that this process should go more smoothly now that things are adding in order and they're numbered correctly. All right, and next up, I have a couple of things with assessment settings. So I'm gonna go back to my manage and then go into schedule and assessment settings here and go to my assessment settings tab. So there's two things I want to call out from this section. One, it has to do with if you were setting a password on a assessment. You can enter a password here. By default, none of them are password protected. And we had an issue where if you set a password, you weren't able to remove the password. You could change it to something else, but you couldn't say, oh, no, I don't want this to have a password at all. And obviously that can be annoying. So at this point, if I set a password, I'm going to make my password, which is always a bad idea. Then, if I come back here, I can just remove it, and now I'm back to not having a password anymore. So I think that's useful if you use passwords for your assessments. And the other is we had some bugginess around this bulk apply feature. So if you have a lot of different assessments that you want to have the same types of assessment, the same number of attempts, the same time limit, the same late policy scoring strategy, and so on and so forth, it can be really useful to just set it once and then use this bulk apply feature to pick the assessment that you want to be the model and then just hit bulk apply. And this was a buggy experience, and that can be really frustrating if you have a big course and then you just have to kind of go in and set every single assessment. So we have fixed this bulk apply feature. The last thing I want to call out that I know people are interested in is our Google Doc Importer feature. And this is a feature that was put together quickly for some of our community members to be able to bring in content from a Google Doc. I will warn you that it's not a super user-friendly process because, again, it was done really quickly, to give some relief to some of our community members who really needed that to work. But I'm not going to demo that here. We actually have a nice demo that Darren has put together, and if you look in the description, I'll put a link to that so that you can see how that feature works. If this is something that you're interested in expanding, let us know. Again, it's not a very, it's a very basic kind of first swipe at just getting something that works right now, but I'd love to hear how you might want that feature to work differently, or how it could work better if you're interested in us expanding it in the future. So that's all I have about other notable improvements in Torus version 32. Thanks so much for your time, and let us know if you have questions or comments. Thank you.